Hey there, this is Cole, and I know I haven't made pretty much any videos for a while or upload anything, and I'm not planning on really continuing any of the series that I've done, but I wanted to make this video in order to give a rebuttal to both Sargon of Akkad and now V also has done this as well. He's espoused the absolute ideal of individualism and denounced as categorically wrong the ideas of collectivism. Now, I am not a communist. I am not a socialist. I do not believe in class warfare. I do not believe in the what's his name? But I forget the guy who predicted the clash of civilizations theory. But I will tell you that it is acceptable to judge based on groups. I mean, this should be pretty self-explanatory. There's no moral inaccuracies, or there is no false validity or invalidity of judging based on a group. If I judge if I judge not based on every single individual, Sargon says, no, categorically wrong, shouldn't be done, shouldn't ever be considered. It's absolutely wrong in every situation. No questions asked. Please don't question it. Oh dear God, please don't ever question this. His whole entire paradigm that I've noticed is he's absolutely terrified of the idea of denying agency, of making people not responsible for their own choices. What's wrong with I'm not going to what's wrong is not the right word, but what is not right about what's not correct about saying that some people do things not based on a choice? Every, some people obviously will say that you always have a choice what you do. No, not really. I mean, do we have a choice in whether or not we are conscious or not? Yes, we can put off sleeping as long as possible, and eventually you are going to be forced to sleep. Your body will say no way, and put the cut right there and make you fall asleep. This idea of denying agency is just it's kind of like taking the classical liberal idea of the self and self-determination and just absolutely not even analyzing it in a way that's scientific, like this is the case. It becomes a matter of no, this is the case because this should be the case and this can only be the case. It's ridiculous. Like I'm not going to say to an epileptic, "Hey, why did you have those seizures?" Because I'm epileptic. Well, that's too bad. You should have the agency to choose what you do. No, I'm not going to blame him, and just like that, I can judge categorically as a group that people with epilepsy tend to have seizures. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't have to go and say, well, listen, not everyone who's epileptic is having a seizure or will have a seizure. No, it's just a matter of fact that to be an epileptic, you you have to have some kind of usually it's flashing lights or anything generally like that that will cause seizures. I mean, I can't I can't judge a group of people based on a defining trait if that defining trait through the law of identity is their defining trait. I can't say that all firemen strive to put out fires. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the idea that denying agency is somehow morally wrong is just absolutely nonsensical. It's just acknowledging the fact that the environment, and I'm not saying the environment like what's around you, I'm saying the environment, the biology of yourself, determines your limits. You cannot exceed the limits of your biology without outside aid. It's that simple. You can will yourself to do can do anything you want, but if you have no means to act upon that will, then it's just not gonna happen unless something else happens and either alters your situation or some outside thing does it for you. Now, he's been bringing up this idea that you shouldn't judge based on statistics and averages because it seems like he's trying to invoke the idea that when you take the average of people, there's no actual person who is average. It's just everyone averaged together, that there's no one person that actually has all these traits. Yes, this is true, but it's an average once again. I like to put forward this argument, and I did in a longer tweet to Sargon that was never responded to. He only ever likes to respond to uncontroversial minor things that I ever tweet out. But I put it like this. Consider this. You are looking for a project to be built. Sargon? Alright? Let's say you want to build a new house, alright? Your one's getting too small, it's all old and busted, and you want the new hotness. So you're looking through various contractors to see who can get the job done and who can do it, effective and cost effective and speedy and cheap and so on and so forth. Now, you finally narrow it down to two groups. They both seem to be pretty good. They are within your budget. They seem to have everything in terms of experience and seem to know what you want. One group is made up of so many amount of people. The other group is made of the exact same amount. And one group goes on and contacts you and says, we're just as good as the other group. We might even be a little better. We can negotiate that price for you. Drop it down maybe a few £100. Your stupid British system. What, having pounds and quids and everything like that. Putting on the pounds. But anyways, back to the point. He's discussing with you, and he says, oh, by the way, legally I have to tell you that one of my friends within my firm, he has a pyromaniac problem. He's been working on it, and he probably won't do any damage, but he's going to be working on the project to hire you if you hire us and everything like this. And you say, well, can't you just tell me who it is so I can just either watch him or maybe take him off the project? And the guy says, no, fuck off, mate. He's my friend, and I've been supporting him through this, and he's putting in a genuine effort, and how can he ever recover if no one ever gives him a chance and all this stuff, and blah blah blah. Why on earth are you going to pick the group that has a person who will actively torch your house and possibly ruin this whole construction project for you just because all the other individuals are fine? Right? You judge every single one based on individually. Well, that's great and fine and dandy. You still can't accept the group. I'm sorry, I tapped the mic there. You can't accept them as a group because one of them is going to burn down whatever work the others put into it. So why on earth can't I judge them as a group? If I'm looking at an interest group, and an interest group is a bad example. Let's say I'm looking at a local political group. All right, maybe they want something like their local, what do they call it over there? The local Poundland to stop performing abortions. All right, local Poundland has been found to be performing abortions, and they want it to stop. All right, so they have an election, in order to solidify their position and to get a representative to the public and everything. So they vote in a leader. Now, this vote-in leader is in an interview, and she says it's not even about Poundland doing the abortion. I don't want abortions being done anywhere for any reason whatsoever. All right? Why is it wrong to say that this person, who is an elected representative formed to stop abortions at Poundland, has a somewhat similar or representation of all the other people in the group? Why is it wrong to judge them as a group, saying they all don't want abortions at Poundland, and because of their representatives' views, probably have very similar views, and they don't want abortions anywhere? All right? Now, Sargon likes to bring up the rule of exception. Rule of exception. Every single rule has an exception. That's the point. You can judge based on the average. This is the whole idea of common law. Most people don't try to fly or dig under roads in order to cross them. So what we do is we have laws about jaywalking, because walking is the common way of getting across the road. Yes, I'm sure some people have crossed roads by going over them or going under them, but still, 900,000 billion cases have crossed the road by walking. So why is it wrong to do this? It's absolutely silly to come to the conclusion that you can't make any generalizations. I mean, this would be throwing just statistical analysis out the window. This is the whole idea of correlations and everything like that. I mean, everyone always says correlation doesn't equal causation and everything like that. Yeah, but causation does still exist. I, as a person with a voice, can't be a mute. If I was a mute, I wouldn't have a voice anymore. Every single person with a voice isn't mute. I can judge all non-mute people saying they have a voice. And no, I'm not talking about just some bullshit like he's oppressed, doesn't have a real voice in government. No, I'm talking about a literal voice, being able to speak. It's just categorically true. You can't. The thing about individualism is, it is great. I support individualism. I'm a nationalist, and I also view individuals as being better if they're nationalists as well. Now listen, I'm not a socialist, as I said. I'm a nationalist libertarian. I would think it would be perfectly acceptable or permissible if every single individual person became self-sufficient and did everything they want, thought the highest of themselves, and every single person was capable and everything like that. Brilliant, great. You should do that. Think of yourself as great as you can be. As Donald Trump says, you gotta tell yourself you're great. But if you don't believe it, then it's not worth it, because you have to believe it too. Get average out of your vocabulary, he says. The whole idea of anti-collectivism and not judging by groups it's honestly just a dogma. You can judge by groups and averages, but the whole point of individualism and the merits it boasts is when you have an individual. When you have an individual and complete knowledge of the individual, it's invalid to judge based on the group. If I'm looking at Timmy Two Shoes here, and I have perfect information about everything that he is, everything that he's done, everything that he will do, yeah, it's retarded to judge him based on the average of demographics he is a part of, because I already have perfect information. Why would I do that? But if I know nothing about Timmy Two Shoes, he was brought into the station because we have no idea what he's done or who he is, and he was in a suspicious situation, then I have to judge him based on demographics. What is Timmy Two Shoes? Is he a 5-year-old or is he a 39-year-old? Is he crippled? Or does he look like he's recently been in a fight? Is he obese and looks like he couldn't get out of the house without assistance? Or does he look like that he benches 380 pounds and could lift grizzly bears by the scruffs of their necks? You have to judge based on demographics when you have incomplete information. No one has complete information. I'm gonna even freaking, yes, and I will try to avoid cussing in this because who knows. I'm gonna even freaking quote Evangelion here and say that nobody can know 100% of anything, and nobody can perfectly know anyone, especially themselves. This comes from that whole fallacy that social justice warriors like to do. Nobody knows my body better than me. I know that I'm healthy at this rate. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna deny your agency, take 2 looks at your body fat percentage and say, yeah, you're gonna get diabetes and die probably when you're about 30 or 40. Now, why does it just piss me off that he just constantly espouses anti-collectivism? Because here is the difference. Here is the big difference that I want you to really comprehend and look at. What are the advantages and disadvantages versus being alone and being in a group? Alone, you're completely free. There's absolutely no one else to tell you what to do. If you have something while you're completely alone, and by this I mean, let's put you on an island. No one owns anything. There's only you. You're 100% free. You can say anything, do anything, etc., etc. There can be no stealing. There can be nothing like that because you're all alone. But here's the thing. You can only be as good as you can, as good as you as an individual are, while alone. You are limited in your abilities, reasoning, etc., etc. You can only harvest so many coconuts on that island alone. But if you have a society, as in you're not alone, there's more people on the island, not additively, but exponentially through various capitalistic purposes such as division of labor and teamwork and everything like that, yada yada, you can harvest many, exponentially many more coconuts the more people that you have cooperating in your society, being a collective. This is how a good idea to view society is. Society is to achieve greatness. Greatness is, let's put it on a vertical axis. The higher you get, the more you have achieved, the greater you are. Alright? Now, the individual, he can only get so high. He can reach up as high as he can. He can do things as much as he wants. He can build a structure by chopping down trees and building a tower. He can get as high as only he is able to make himself get. Now, when you add people, those people are able to do different things to you, add the quality of division of labor, specialization of labor. Now, you can build a much higher tower much more quickly. It's absolutely stupid to say you're better off alone in achieving greatness than to be put with other people. Other people are worse. Other people can be a hamper, but those people, as you say, it's great if you survive the purges. I mean, if you don't want to associate someone, if it's your society, you're free to leave that society at any point. Now, going on ahead from this, Marxists and everything like that, absolutely retarded. They say, no, we shouldn't do anything whatsoever. We ought to all lay down horizontally on the ground. Laying down horizontally on the ground is not achieving greatness. Yeah, you're all equal, kind of. Equal in absolute mental retardation. Kind of equal. But the idea that being individual is good, it's better than being horizontal, laying face down. At least you're free to do things like improve and actually build. But here is where the idea of collectivist thought comes from. You in a group are able to do more than you would be able to do on your own. Picture it like a pyramid. All the communists are laying down horizontal, trying to get as high as possible by laying down horizontal. Now, the individual is standing up there, standing on his very tippy toes, trying to reach as high as he can. Some people are taller than others. Individuals may reach higher up than some people, but those in the collective, if they build a pyramid, they can reach higher than anyone. And here's the thing, I'm not advocating force in order to build a pyramid. The people on the bottom, even though as individuals they have the most support from everyone else, they're also just as important as the person at the top in order to reach the top. If you do it by force, they're going to do the minimum amount required in order to they're not get punished in this case of a pyramid being built not by force, and they may just not contribute enough or will flat out try to sabotage the pyramid. The greatness comes when people, they say, we want to do it because it's there. It is a good thing to be great, and we want to see just how high we can make ourselves. They come together through voluntary cooperation to make a pyramid as high as possible to achieve that greatness, which just is inherently a good. I'm not advocating redistribution of wealth or anything, but why is it that when we look at a pyramid, Sargon just says, oh, there's 1,000,000 blocks lying there? Well, is there any special arrangement of the blocks? Is there some kind of achievement the blocks have done? No, every single block is the same and should be judged just as a block. So the fact that they're in a 1,000-foot tall pyramid is inconsequential to you. Yeah, it makes sense. We're judging them based on individuals. Oh, Cole, you can't judge them using a metaphor. That's denying agency. You can't deny agency because people aren't animals and you're making them into blocks. Fuck off, mate. You can't fucking say we can't use metaphors because it denies people agency. Humans are animals. And we have different definitions, but I believe that not even every human is a person. I don't even need to go into that. Sargon can have that stinger, ching, or duh, what, if he wants to, but you can judge people based on metaphors and not deny agency. You can judge people based on their characteristics without denying agency. All these people, if I'm just judging if they're on a baseball team, things like batting average, speed, agility, strength, etc., etc., if I'm judging based on all these things, I don't give much two shits about the human being a person in the outfield. I judge whether he can catch a ball, whether he can run, whether he can throw, whether he can see. Alright? I judge him based on characteristics. This is towards a goal. I don't need to sit there and constantly say, oh my goodness, you're so special, you're such a person, you have your own agency, you make your own choices, and that's so amazing, and gosh jarly barley gee whiz, how flippin' floppin' flutely fleetly of you. Now, if I'm a manager, I judge people based on what they do and the job they do. I group all the engineers as engineers, and I group all the clerks as clerks, and I group all the YouTubers with the YouTubers. Why is that so hard? Why is it hard to say that both Sargon and random person flicking through my registry, Will Wheaton? Why do I need to say there's absolutely nothing different about them and they both aren't people who are involved in social media? It's absolutely just ridiculous. I'm willing to debate you or V about this and go into my position civilly. I don't want to just sit here and call definitions and say racist and progressive and all these other kinds of things, but yeah, I'm willing to debate whenever you are. So this is Cole. You can reach me on my Twitter at Cole_roll. And Justice for Tay, Gax. I don't know. I don't have an intro set out yet. So goodbye, and I hope you'll get back to me.
So tell me, you lived here for 30-something years. They're classifying this fire as a potential hate crime. What do you think about that?
I think that if people just stayed in their own side of town, their own neighborhood, that things like that wouldn't happen.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, every race and color has their own section of Buffalo almost, so if they just stay on their own side, things like this wouldn't happen. People in these neighborhoods don't want those type of people moving down here and ruining the property value and destroying the neighborhood, so when things like that happen, it shouldn't be such a shock.
What do you mean by those types of people?
Minorities, African Americans.
So are you suggesting that they should stay on the east side rather than coming here to South Buffalo?
Well, they've already wrecked the east side. Why should they come down to the south side and wreck that neighborhood?
Do you think that by saying these things, people on the other side of the city get offended? Do you think that there's some sort of a bias, potentially?
A lot of people feel this way. They just won't say it.
But you are.
Yeah.
Why are you coming out and saying these things?
Because I own a home and I see what happens when they move into the neighborhood. Property value goes down, kids on the corner, crime goes up. The east side used to be a beautiful place. Look what they did to that.
Do you think that there's an issue, though, in what you're saying?
Well, I'm sure there is, but, I mean, you got to take a look at why it's an issue.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, they just ruin neighborhoods.
I guess what I'm getting at is that you're generalizing tremendously. These people might have just been here looking for a different way of life, a better way of life.
Maybe people are afraid after you let one family in, then more of them come in. You know, that's just how it is around here.
All right. Do you think there's anything wrong with what you're saying?
I don't feel there's anything wrong with it. A lot of people would feel wrong about it, but I don't.
I'm just saying that when we die, there's going to be a planet for the French, a planet for the Chinese, and we'll all be a lot happier.
Mr. Gumbo, you're upsetting me.
No, I'm not.